Now at 10 and streaming on CrossroadsToday.com, authorities in Eagle Lake found parts of a Ford SUV as they search for the suspect in a fatal hit and run. Ganado police have a suspect in the dumping of 500 pounds of trash in that city. And the Humility Project in Victoria has a new home.
We have breaking weather news. We've got some severe thunderstorms rolling down into the Crossroads right about now. This is happening within the last hour. This all started in Kerrville. It's now going to be going into the city of Victoria. I'll have the latest coming up.
Did I say one Crossroads athlete is a national champion? Make that two. We see which two are bringing home gold in sports.
You're watching 25 News now at 10. Good evening and thank you for joining us. I'm Don Brubaker. Karina Garcia has the night off. Here's a severe weather alert, so let's go right now to First Warn Storm Team Chief Meteorologist Mac Pettis. Mac?
Earlier this afternoon, right about here you see them. Then they rolled down the 35 corridor and then moved south of the I-10 corridor. We've already had some heavy rain in the Gonzales area right about now. There you see the DeWitt County area, this Cuero right about there. And so it's going to be rolling into the city of Victoria within the hour. So the good news is they are beginning to collapse. The hail core has disappeared, but we will get some thunder, lightning, and some heavy rain coming through this area between now and maybe midnight. Tomorrow morning, because of the leftover moisture, we'll probably see a few more showers from this cluster that came through. We'll have more coming up and take a look at the tropics coming up in just a moment. Don, back to you.
Mac, thank you. DPS trying to solve a fatal hit and run. It happened on FM 3013 and FM 1093 in Eagle Lake, June 17th or June 18th. Authorities recovered front grille material and front bumper parts, possibly from a Ford SUV. 50-year-old Alejandro Madrid Juarez was hit and killed. The driver never stopped. If you have any information, call DPS Houston 281-517-1300. Ganado police have these surveillance pictures of a man suspected of dumping over 500 pounds of garbage in Ganado during the early morning hours last Saturday. Ganado PD also has pictures of the suspect's truck. The trash and waste was dumped in the work area on the north side of Ganado. If you have any information, tips can remain anonymous by calling the Ganado Police Department at 361-771-2800 or by calling the Jackson County Sheriff's Office Dispatch non-emergency phone number 361-782-3541. TxDOT crews working Wednesday fixing the Beltway 8 westbound frontage road in southwest Houston. This comes after crews had to close down Highway 6 on Tuesday after officials say the road buckled due to extreme heat. KTRK reports 5 to 10 roads have buckled since last Friday, all due to the heat. This happens because the concrete expands and simply has nowhere to go. The Humility Project has a new home. The Unitarian Universalist Church on Crestwood Drive handed over the keys to Director Kim Pickens. The Humility Project says it plans to use the home to provide better services to homeless people in the area. The Unitarian Universalist Church never recovered from the pandemic, so church leaders decided to give the building to Kim Pickens and the Humility Project.
Work with them for applications and whatever they need in order to get their footing, but also to provide them with an address they can use for mail, to also give them a place where if they need to come and sit and have some water, have a conversation, get out of the elements.
The Humility Project's new address is 1791 East Crestwood. If you'd like to get involved, call Kim Pickens at 361-433-5388. This brings us to your viewer poll this evening. Scan that QR code on your screen to vote now. Here's your question. Are you familiar with the Humility Project? The choices are I've donated, I've volunteered, I've used services, or no. Let's look at the numbers. 7% of the voters say they've donated, 1% they volunteered, 2% they've used services, 90% of the voters say no. Thank you for voting. We want to hear from you. Come to crossroadstoday.com/vote to take part. More than 60 confirmed cases of people getting hospitalized with shigellitis symptoms were reported to the Texas Department of State Health Services from Victoria, Yoakum, Hallettsville, and Shiner. The Hallettsville Tribune-Herald reports all the cases involved people who claimed they had eaten recently at Hallettsville's Cabos San Lucas restaurant. DSHS reports the restaurant did not have a policy that tells workers they should inform the boss that they don't feel well. The sweltering heat continuing to test Texas' power grid as thousands still without electricity. The state's power grid operator asked residents to voluntarily cut back on electricity due to anticipated record demand, as the heat wave kept a large part of the state in triple-digit temperatures. Patience has also begun to grow thin over outages, which have persisted since weekend storms and tornadoes have caused widespread damage. An El Paso man is in critical condition after being shot while driving an Uber. The woman accused of shooting him says she thought he was trying to kidnap her. Court documents report she called her boyfriend first after the shooting instead of calling authorities.
It was just shocking, hard to believe. A lot of us had seen the news, but we never even imagined. It never crossed our mind that it was going to be him.
Didi Lopez is Daniel Piedra Garcia's niece. Piedra is an Uber driver who was shot on Friday by a passenger from Kentucky.
He was really excited to be driving for Uber. He was already providing for his family, and not only that, he was meeting so many people,
According to the arrest report, Phoebe Copas told police she shot Piedra because she thought he was kidnapping her when she saw an exit sign on US 54 that listed Fort Bliss in Juarez, Mexico. Piedra's niece believes stereotypes about the border may have led to her uncle being shot.
They make assumptions. They see stuff maybe on the news or on social media, and stuff that's not necessarily true. And so when they come here, they come without really knowing.
Piedra's family tells me he is a loving man who wanted to provide for those he loves, and while he doesn't have any children of his own, he has many godchildren who are devastated at the thought of losing him.
I miss him, and I wish that this wouldn't have happened to him. He didn't deserve that. Nobody deserves that.
The arrest report says Copas didn't call 911 right away. Police say she took a photo of Piedra and sent it to her boyfriend, who she called first, before finally calling for help.
For someone who was fearing for her life, you would think that the first thing you would do is call the authorities, but she took other actions.
Lopez says neurologists told the family there's nothing more they can do to help Piedra, leaving them with a heartbreaking decision.
It's hard, we still had hopes that maybe he would be okay and wake up, so now we just basically have to decide what our next step is.
Lopez says Uber has been in contact with the family to offer support and provide whatever they need.
They called my aunt today and they just basically asked her what she needed, that they would be able to provide.
We reached out to Uber, and a spokesperson said in part, quote, "We are horrified by the rider's actions and we banned the rider as soon as we were made aware of what occurred. Our thoughts are with Mr. Garcia and his loved ones," end quote. The family tells me as they try to move forward, they want justice for Daniel.
I'm hoping that she'll get the maximum, because if she did this to us, she can do it to anybody.
Copas remains in jail on a $1 million bond. She has a bond hearing set for Friday. The impeachment trial of suspended Attorney General Ken Paxton will begin at 9 a.m. September 5th. The Texas Senate announced Wednesday night after 2 days of private meetings to draft the trial rules. The Texas Tribune reports a resolution laying out the rules was adopted on a 25-3 vote without discussion. The rules include that State Senator Angela Paxton, Ken Paxton's wife, will not be allowed to cast a vote in the impeachment trial of her husband. An impeachment resolution for President Biden could be on the House floor this week. GOP Representative Lauren Boebert made a specific procedural move that would force the chamber to vote on her resolution this week. However, today she said she would not push for a vote. The articles focus on Biden's handling of immigration and changes at the U.S.-Mexico border. Speaker Kevin McCarthy reportedly urged the House caucus to vote against it, arguing now was not the time.
And I think to prematurely bring something up like that, to have no background in it, it undercuts what we're doing in Comer's committee. We're finding something new every single day, what we're doing in Jim Jordan's committee as well. Look, this is probably one of the most important things members of Congress has a right to do, and to take it in a flippant way, to just put something privileged on the floor like that. We're going to censure Adam Schiff for taking us through impeachment and lying to the American public, and you want to turn around the next day and do the same thing.
McCarthy wants the committee investigations to play out. He warns that jumping into impeachment now could threaten Republicans' slim majority. Here's some of the top headlines you can read in the Port Lavaca Wave this week. Law enforcement officials make 17 weekly arrests. The Calhoun Port Authority Board approved joining the Victoria Economic Development Corporation. And Port Lavaca gets a new skateboard shop for the youngsters of the city. You can read these stories and more at theportlavacawave.com. Remember to subscribe to our YouTube channel, Crossroads Today. Hit the like button and click the notification bell. That gets you on our YouTube page. That's Crossroads Today. And stay with us. Coming up on 25 News now at 10. DNA evidence found on a knife sheath was a statistical match to the man accused of murdering 4 college students in Idaho last year. Also ahead, a Canadian aircraft detected underwater noises in the search for a submersible that vanished while taking 5 people down to the wreck of the Titanic. Details about the DNA evidence against Brian Kohberger, the suspect accused of murdering 4 University of Idaho students last year. In a court filing last week, Kohberger's DNA was compared to DNA collected from the knife sheath found at the crime scene. The STR analysis was a statistical match. STR is a common type of DNA profiling. Prosecutors said it's, quote, at least 5 octillion times more likely, unquote, to be Kohberger's DNA than a random individual. Hundreds of Israeli settlers stormed into a Palestinian town in the occupied West Bank, setting fire to several cars and homes. 1 man killed in the violence. Wednesday night, an Israeli drone hit a Palestinian car with suspected Palestinian gunmen. The strike marked a major escalation by Israel in the year-long campaign against militants in the area. This further raised tensions earlier this week by an Israeli military raid that killed 7 people. A desperate search has expanded to help find a submersible with 5 people on board that went missing Sunday while on a deep-sea journey to the wreckage site of the Titanic. Now, today, the U.S. Coast Guard addressed the underwater noises detected by sonar in the search area in the North Atlantic Ocean. Still, the massive search has no results.
With just hours of oxygen left, rescuers say they are working around the clock to find the missing submersible. Sonar buoys detected several banging-like underwater noises, but a search has turned up nothing. Navy experts studying those sounds.
We need to have hope, right? but I can't tell you what the noises are.
A French ship is expected to arrive with a deep-sea robot equipped with cameras and arms that could free the sub if it was stuck, but it cannot lift it to the surface. The crew on the Titan is locked in from the outside with 17 bolts and no escape hatch. On board, British explorer and billionaire Hamish Harding, Pakistani businessman Shahada Dawood and his 19-year-old son Solomon, world-renowned Titanic researcher and diver P.H. Narjuleh, and the CEO of Ocean Gate, Stockton Rush. Seen here in this CBS Sunday Morning Profile.
We run the whole thing with this game controller. The pressure vessel is not MacGyver at all, because that's where we work with Boeing and NASA and the University of Washington. Everything else can fail. Your thrusters can go, your lights can go, you're still going to be safe.
The University of Washington tells ABC News it was not involved in the design, engineering, or testing of the Titan. NASA says they were consulted but did not conduct testing and manufacturing via its workforce or facilities.
Finding them is the first step. They still have to get them on the ship, and they still have to unbolt them. So plug that into your clock.
Melissa Dawn, ABC News, Los Angeles.
Here's some of the top headlines you can read in the Cuero Record this week. The new fitness court opens at the Cuero Municipal Park. DeWitt County Vietnam veterans award scholarships. And Pastor Glenn Robertson celebrates 30 years with the First Baptist Church of Cuero. You can read these stories and more at DeWittCountyToday.com.
Well, folks, we got some severe weather just about to roll into the city. As you can see right here, these thunderstorms coming in from the northwest are just about to get into Victoria proper. This activity actually started in the hill country, but here we are, and you can see we are under a severe thunderstorm warning till probably 11 or maybe even 12 o'clock tonight. So the weather, the severity is beginning to decrease a little bit. That's good, but you're going to see a lot of thunder and lightning and rain rolling in within a few minutes. We'll be talking more about it coming up after the break. Stay tuned. Well, good evening, everyone. If you're hearing thunder and lightning out there, it's really happening. This activity began way up here in the hill country this afternoon and then rolled through San Antonio and down toward our area. So we are getting thunder showers around the region. In the orange, that's the thunderstorm watch. In the yellow, that's a severe thunderstorm warning. So we are under a warning right about now, as you see right about there, and that will keep going until 10:30 or maybe even 11 o'clock as the activity is rolling through the city right about now. Now, this activity, fortunately, is decreasing in intensity. In other words, we're not going to have any big hail problems around the area, but you will see how we had some not that long ago, and generally speaking, the storms are collapsing, but it is just rolling into the city. Hopefully you left your, in the heat, we leave our windows down on the car. Hopefully you rolled them up tonight, because that's what's happening in the city even as we speak. This is just one of the clusters. There's another one up here rolling toward the Wharton area, and then there's another one rolling through Houston right about now. All this stuff, amazingly, all began just 200 miles from here, and then it just rolled and rolled and rolled till it got here. So there's Victoria County under a severe thunderstorm warning till 10:30. I imagine maybe even longer than that, but that is part of the activity that is still alive even as we speak at this hour of the night. It actually began right about here in Junction and Kerrville and just kept moving down to our area. That tells me that there's going to be a slight adjustment of the high pressure on top of us. If it was as strong as it was last week, this wouldn't have happened, but it managed to squeeze through that area. All right, let's go to the tropics. Here's Tropical Storm Brett, possible Cindy, and possible Don, the hurricane, not the Brubaker that we have. Anyway, we zoom in and you can see there's a little bit of good news here. Okay, number one, it's still a tropical storm. It's not a hurricane, and it is not expected to be a hurricane when it hits the Leeward Islands, and this is probably tomorrow night. Thursday night into Friday, their weather is going to go south. Martinique, Barbados, St. Lucia, all those places are going to be getting that storm. And here's the other bit of good news, I consider it good news. As it rolls into the Caribbean, normally I would get very worried, but it's going to fall apart and not strengthen. Now you're saying, well, there's warm water. Why is it not going? Let me show you why. Here are the three storms lined up. It's going to run into this wind here, okay? And imagine this is a wind blowing in this direction. So as it moves through the Caribbean, it's going to run into shear, and that's going to blow the top off of it. So it's not going to be alive in 3 or 4 days. So that's the good news, that the shear is keeping it away from our area. It'll be just a leftover debris that's going to be rolling through much of portions of Central America. For tomorrow morning, 83 in Port Lavaca, getting up to 92 with a little cloud cover in the morning hours, courtesy of our storms tonight. And then in Cuero, of course, the clouds and the storms tonight, and then ending tomorrow morning. And then by afternoon, just back to blazing, all right? Our 7-day forecast doesn't have a lot of hope in it in the 7-day stretch, but 10, 12 days, we're keeping optimistic that things might be changing on us. Well, at least it won't be that ridiculously hot. It'll be just hot. So 118 is our forecast heat index for tomorrow afternoon. Keep that in mind as we hover in the 100-degree mark through the next 7 days. That's your 7-day forecast. Reminding everybody we do have a QR code. And if you put that on your phone, I'll be able to send you notices of all the thunderstorm activity for tonight. Now we'll toss it over to Gino in sports.
Thanks, Mac. We hear from the new head volleyball coaches at Victoria East and West. Both are very familiar with each other. That's coming up after the break. At Crossroads, the 2023 U.S. National Championships are in its final day, and now 2 Victoria gymnasts are national champions. In the final hours of the competition, the duo of Callie Ganaway and Daisy Rickman competed in the synchro trampoline event for a national title. This right here, what you're watching, is the winning routine. Rickman is the closest one on your screen, while Ganaway is further away. The two scored a 41.7 to win the national title. And meanwhile, this is Ganaway's not her first national title of the competition. With a total score of 90.86, Ganaway won the national title in solo trampoline by a margin of 0.8 points. Rickman unfortunately dropped to 3rd place with a score of 89.84, which was just 2 points out of winning a silver medal. Ganaway was accompanied by her coach, who happens to also be her father. The two are celebrating and enjoying their time in Oklahoma. Now Victoria will have 6 medals coming home, which include 3 gold, 1 silver, and 2 bronze medals. What a competition for these athletes. There are 2 new head volleyball coaches at the Victoria high schools, and they know each other pretty well. Both Garrett Gomez and Shelby Spradley were assistants under Alicia Hill, who had been at the West High School for nearly a decade. Now Gomez is taking charge at West as the head coach. This is his first head coaching job at a high school level, and he is hoping to bring energy, new drills, and make the program his own.
I hope to just take the reins and run with it. I really hope that the girls can respond to me as much as possible, the staff can respond to me as much as possible, and that we can just continue the legacy that has been Victoria West Volleyball. And I hope that I can just bring the exact same reputation, if not a better one, going forward.
Victoria East head coach Spradley used to play college volleyball at Tyler Junior College. Her goals for her first year are to change the culture, instill hard work and intensity, but most importantly, lead her team to more wins.
I've always played volleyball my whole life, and so once I started coaching 2 years ago, I was like, this is my next step. I need to be a head coach. So I started applying, and once I got the confirmation that I got the job at East, I was super excited.
The former assistants are both in the middle of the strength and conditioning programs at their schools. The 2 Victoria teams will have tryouts on July 31st and continue through August 1st. The Lady Titans will play its first game on August 8th against the Floresville Tigers, and the West Lady Warriors will also have its first game on August 8th against Navarro and Piper. The Shiner Comanches were in attendance tonight at Riverside Stadium to see the Victoria Generals take on its rivals, the Brazos Valley Bombers. The Generals looked as if they were going to strike first with a solid base hit right up the middle, but that would be not the case. The base runner would be left on base. The Brazos Valley Bombers, on the other hand, had a bomb over left field for a 2-run home run to take the lead early on in the 2nd inning. And things were not clicking for the Generals early on. The Bombers turning a double play to put the side away. The two kept going back and forth and exchanging the lead, but it was the Bombers who came out on top. The two will play again Friday night in Bryan College Station. Final score for that one, 5-4. Well, that's your sports. Don, back to you.
All right, Gino, thank you. Stay with us. Coming up on 25 News now at 10. We'll take a last look at your weather, an update on the severe weather coming in. And there's a new and tasty world record in the Guinness World Record books. And now has the highest price of gas in the USA, where the average cost of regular gasoline jumped 32 cents over the past month. AAA reports it costs $4.93 a gallon in Washington. Mississippi has the cheapest gas, an average of $3 a gallon. AAA Texas reports the average gas price in Victoria County, $3.14 a gallon. That's $1.30 a gallon less than a year ago. The Federal Trade Commission suing Amazon, accusing the company of tricking its customers. The FTC filed a federal lawsuit claiming Amazon deceived millions of consumers into signing up for its Prime subscription service. Prosecutors say Amazon also used deceptive interface designs known as dark patterns to thwart users who were actually trying to cancel their memberships. There's no word from Amazon about the lawsuit. Let's go now immediately to Mac for a severe weather update at the Crossroads.
Here is the latest Doppler image, folks, for you. The thunderstorms are just rolling into the city right about now. There's thunder and lightning and pretty heavy rain. The good news is it's only going to last about an hour and a half or maybe less, and then it rolls down toward the coast. There are more storms to the northeast of us up toward El Campo, but this activity will be with us for the next couple of hours. I'm going to send out a couple of tweets in the next few minutes just to give you an update on that, but with a little luck, we'll be through with this by tomorrow morning.
All right, Mac, thank you very much. And finally tonight, there is a new Guinness World Record established today in Pennsylvania. Godshall's Quality Meats in Lebanon now holds the official world record for longest piece of turkey bacon. The slice was at least 16 feet 6 inches to land the record. Theirs came in at 17 feet and 3/4 of an inch. The piece took over 6 hours to cook in a smokehouse oven that is 25 feet long and 10 feet wide.
We looked at this as, we're one of the largest turkey bacon manufacturers in the country, and, we got to go big or go home. And with it being the longest day of the year, why not make the longest slice?
Now, in order to be 100% official, it needs to be eaten. Yeah.
Oh, my
so
gosh.
they hosted a BLT luncheon, and they'll donate the rest to Lebanon County Christian Ministries, which is a great way to spread the wealth. The world's record longest turkey bacon. Do you all like turkey bacon?
I do. So I was going to say Cuero. Maybe they can start making. Maybe they can get in the race.
They should be breaking the record.
I don't
That's
know.
what they should
Maybe
be doing.
one of these days it'll be Cuero holding the record.
I've never been able to cut a piece of bacon off a turkey, though.
Well,
I don't know how they do that.
Keep trying. That's all we can say.
Well, that's a big turkey.
Cuero, you're on notice. You got to beat that record from Lebanon, where, Ohio?
Pennsylvania.
Pennsylvania.
Close.
You got to beat that.
Thank you, guys, and thanks for joining us. 25 News Now at 10, join Carolina and Trey. 25 News Now Sunrise starting at 5 a.m. Good night, everybody.